Normally it rises.
Hey, it's ODB, the Lincoln Addict, back with another video. And if you saw the thumbnail, you noticed that I'm going to review a 67 Lincoln Continental Convertible. So let's jump right in. Okay, today we have a 67 Lincoln Continental Convertible. This is on Bring a Trailer. This auction ends in 7 hours from the point that I'm recording this, about 10 a.m. on Wednesday. So I'll get this out hopefully pretty quickly. That way, if this card interests you at all, you could, of course, make a play on it. Now, ironically enough, I don't review a lot of 67 listings simply because there's not as many of them, it seems like these days. There are some, don't get me wrong. There's more 66s listings, it seems. But as we jump in here, what I want to do is I'm going to go over to what I had prepared and kind of go through some of the key information. So in 67, keep in mind there's 2,276 convertibles produced. Out of the breakdown that you see there, about 45,777 total units for that particular year. Now, many of you will know 67 is the last year of the convertible. So, think of the 61 through the 67. Those are the convertible years, if you will, for the body style that I like to cover. And then, of course, in 68, you have that similar body style, but there's no convertible. Now, if we take a look at the Hagerty price valuation tool, you'll see good condition rings in at about 65,000. Of course, you want to add 10% for AC, so that's going to add another, $6,500, give or take, for this listing. Now, we're going to jump back over to Bring a Trailer here in just a moment, but what they've bullet pointed out are just a few key things. Of course, what you want to know is it's a silver paint, so we'll talk about it. Of course, a lot of the other stuff is kind of like a given. It does have some additional features that we'll talk about. It was added to the Lincoln registry, you could see here, back in February of 2023. What I want to do now is break down the VIN. So I pasted the VIN here, and just very quickly, you've got 67, so that 7 represents 67. Of course, all of these vehicles were built in Wixom, Michigan. 86 is the body style, so four-door convertible. G is the MEL. Mercury, Etzel Lincoln 462, so 462 cubic inches. They used that engine for about 2.5 years. Now, if I remember correctly, and I was looking in the book for 66, I didn't have my 67 book handy, but I believe in 67 was the first year that there's not a 4 that I've talked about in the consecutive unit number. So here you see the 805200, which the VIN ends in. That, if I remember correctly, again, was the first year that you're not going to see the 4 that I often talk about. Now, I believe this is the 5,200th built, which, if that was the case, that's an earlier year model out of the 45,000. So we'll look at the build date here in just a moment, but please chime in if you feel differently on this. I'm pretty confident, again, it's 05200, so that would have been the 5,200th unit built. Now, this is the information that you would look at in the book, kind of the master book, if you will, and you could see here that it mentions the 8 that I believe is just replaced. I don't know what the logic was, but again, if you've been watching my videos, you know that there's a 4 typically there. We can see here now, being that it would have been the 5,200 unit, it would have been September 1st of 66. So Bring a Trailer breaks this down as well. It's kind of hard to see, but a J and a 01. So the J would represent September. So a very early production for that model year. I don't have the production run dates for 67, presumably July, August, if you will, of 66. Now, I want to jump back over to the auction so we can kind of get into the meat and potatoes, and then we'll sum it up. I'll sum it up with some of the key information from a takeaway perspective. The biggest thing that you're going to notice, whether you're a fan of this or not, is essentially you've got different wheels on it, right? So you've got a newer style Lincoln wheel. That, of course, may not be your MO. So the good thing is the original wheel covers, also known as hubcaps, are included. So you've got The 67, of course, you've got no star on the front fender in 67. That's a difference from 66. And then you also have, I think it's 3 additional bars in the grille. So those are kind of the easier tells from this angle. The seats are also a little bit different, which we'll look at here in a few moments, but you really can't see the tops of the seats. You can just a tad from here, but not too much. Again, we broke down some of the information here. The key thing is 94,000 miles. So again, a sub 100K on the mileage. The car was repainted, so that factory color silver mist metallic. It was repainted about 13 years ago in 2011. Now, there are some add-ons, and one of those we'll look at in some of the photos, which is the automatic headlight dimmer, which is in a different place when you get to 66 and 67 up. We can also see that it has the individual adjustable contour seats, what we often refer to now as just simply bucket seats. This was a rare option. For the most part, you could estimate about 10 to 20%, give or take, potentially lower for each particular model year. But if you think about the production run for 67 with the low amount of convertibles built, maybe only 200 to 400 cars had them for that particular year. It also has, I had a set of these at one point. You've got the adjustable headrest on the passenger side, which I believe is pretty rare. I forget if you could get the individual seats without that, but regardless, that's something that you would see in the brochure for 67, and it is fairly rare. Not everyone's a fan of the steering wheel in 66 and 67 in particular. I don't mind it. You either kind of love or maybe don't love these particular year cars. We can see the MEL 462, as we mentioned. We can also see that it has a 3-port fuel pump, mechanical fuel pump, which is great. The dual reservoir for the brake setup. It's got the original fan shroud. The engine bay is very clean. You also have a battery tie down or hold down, which are often missing. It's hard pressed to tell off the top of my head if that's a factory one or one that's been added, but battery hold downs, especially for the Ford vehicles, are very similar over a lot of the years. So regardless, it's kind of rare to see. It does appear that someone has detailed kind of the undercarriage to a certain extent. So we'll get a few more photos, a little bit better look at that. We've got the dark blue leather interior, again, silver mist metallic. And what they have listed here is, again, the production number 805200. Bring a Trailer often doesn't make a mistake, and I'm not saying that they did, but you and I both know they didn't make 805,000 for that particular year. I think the 4 just changes to an 8, and then, of course, you've got the preceding numbers, so 5,200 would have been the production. I don't believe the production went into September 1st of 67. It would have ended sometime in July, is my guesstimation. We could see here that we've got the automatic headlight dimmer. So for those that don't know, in 66, 67, it is in the front, the peak molding right here. You can kind of see if you could see my mouse moving. So on the driver's side in that peak molding as it comes around the top of the fender and terminates, if you will, right here. The chrome work looks beautiful. These grills are made of pot metal, and the pot metal looks really, really nice. You'll be hard-pressed sometimes to find a nice grill for 66 and 67, so it looks really, really good. We've got photos with the top up. We've got photos with the top down. We also have videos of this particular car, which is fantastic. Again, you can look at the bright work, and you might be able to find some little imperfections, but often we've looked at these cars and typically there's dents and dings and, things that, would probably need to be re-chromed. Again, it may not be perfect, but certainly very, very nice condition. We can see in 66, 67, we know that Lincoln goes to a glass back window, which is very unique. I know John Cashman's gotten questions in the past, or he's chimed in on posts, people going, hey, can I put that in my earlier year Lincoln? Certainly not. It's not just like a bolt-in mod. There were some refinements in 66 and up. And one of those nice, cool things with the top going down is you see that glass back window. We also have the feature, which I've talked about. It's on the right of the fuel filler on the driver's side. So all the way back where the fuel filler's out, you can insert the key, which the owner does on one of the videos, and turn it left or right to put the top up or down. We've got the beautiful interior. Again, I'm a fan of blue. I love this interior. There's no crack in the dash. We also have the factory floor mats. Now, arguably, there are some folks that are repopping these. So it's possible that these are repops, but if they're not, that's very rare. This interior looks really, really good. And certainly, I would venture to guess that those are the original floor mats. We can see a little bit better here of the adjustable headrest for the passenger side. And we can also see the center console, which would come with the individual adjustable contour seats. And it's pretty cool because it has a lock in it as well. I believe it's the same key. It should be the same key as the glove box in the most of the years. And I forget if in 67 if you have a lock on the glove box, but certainly you've got a key to be able to lock the center console. Like, let's say you wanted to put something in there, you're at the beach or something like that, and you didn't want someone to be able to easily reach in there and grab it. The trunk on this car is very, very, very nice. You can see in this photo, you've got the carpet kit. You have these also what we kind of refer to as landing pads. When the top retracts into the trunk area, you basically have it kind of where it rests on those pads, and often those are discarded. Again, with this car, you're seeing that there's a completeness about it, and you don't always see that with these Lincolns. This also extends to some of the trim in the trunk. This is, plastic, if you will. This stuff can easily be discarded. People don't put it back in. It can be broken, things like that. Now, it may not be perfect because you can kind of see some of the brittleness around here, but certainly trying to find these pieces, if you didn't have them, it can cost a lot, believe it or not. So the cool thing is if you were looking to take it to the next level, and maybe you wanted to have someone recreate this out of fiberglass or repair some of these little pieces, you certainly could. But having all of that there, that's a huge win. We can see at some point that they replace the insulation underneath the hood. There are folks that kind of remake these kits, if you will. And that's certainly a nice thing to be able to kind of make that look nice. Now, underneath the car, I mentioned that there's a little bit of detail work. Of course, it may not be detailed to the nines, certainly, but somebody has gotten underneath here and hit it with some black paint or some sort of undercoating and things like that. And that's not the end of the world. Most people aren't going to really care what's going on underneath the car other than making sure that there's no rust. And from what I can tell, even though this had a Pennsylvania location or destination, if you will, for the original sale, it looks better than I would expect. We can see there is some documentation that's provided, including some of these manuals. And again, there's the 67, what they refer to as the shop manual. In the beginning, or the very one of the first few pages is where it breaks down the VIN information. That's where I've kind of compiled all this over the course of time. We can see here you've got the rear window operation, which is for the auto drops. And you also have here with John Cashman's card, the convertible top operation, automatic rear door windows, exterior deck lid controls. You've got the original hubcaps, a couple extras, which they're also known as wheel covers. Now, there are a couple of photos here of the restoration, which is key. And I will tell you this, the doors were removed from this car. That's not something that a lot of shops will do, especially if it's, quote, just a respray. So, the amount of effort that went into a paint job in this car definitely shows. And the owner mentioned that the gaps are very good on the car. Certainly I'd love to see it in person, but I can tell you, if you were to take this car to a place to repaint in 2024, and talking about taking the doors off and doing it all right, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find someone less than 20,000 that would do it. Now, granted, it depends where you live. I know some people might think that is insane, but I'm here to tell you, it's definitely a thing. Now, I just chimed in a little while ago because there were people talking about and I'm going to jump out of the I'm going to jump out of the share screen. There were people in there discussing about the air conditioning, and someone said, "Hey, I often see on Bring a Trailer that the AC is not working, and oftentimes folks will just say it might just need a recharge. Maybe it doesn't. A lot of times the air conditions aren't working on these cars, right? And I've seen where people will charge them and they'll blow cold. Okay, most any garage or most any competent person, whether they're old school or not, that knows AC systems will be able to kind of figure these out. Now, there are some nuances, absolutely. Under the dash, you start to get into some of the vacuum lines and things like that. Totally get it. Okay. There's a guy, Blair Farmer, in the Clearwater, Tampa Bay area that's an expert with this stuff. He helped me, and TC did as well, on my 65 Lincoln, and we kind of upgraded everything. But certainly, you'd be hard pressed to find any car that everything is perfect on. Okay. So this car, in my opinion, is very, very nice. We're going to wrap it up here in a minute, but it's a very nice car. Now, certainly the AC not working, that's going to be one of those things to kind of keep in mind. But, a lot of people are jumping on, hey, the AC is not working, and, that's a big deal breaker, and things like that. And certainly to find one where everything is working in this condition, you just don't often see that. Now, someone could easily go to their friend and have them charge it and go, yeah, look, here's a little deal, and a thermometer, and it's blowing ice cold, and then you get it and it leaks out. I've seen people do that. I've heard of people doing that, and that's not the right thing to do. But at the end of the day, when the top is down, when I drive in Florida, it's hot when the sun is beaming on you. And certainly there have been a few times where I've left the top up to drive to a destination and the AC's blowing cold. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it does feel good. Don't get me wrong. But certainly, depending on where you live, if the top is down and you've got the AC blowing, it's going to help a little bit, but it's a convertible. So that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. So what I want to do here is jump back. There are a few videos. I'm not going to necessarily go through them, but there's engine idle, there's a startup video, there's interior window operation, top. Everything that you want to see for the most part is here. So that's fantastic. I do believe someone assisted with the video. So when the car is started up, I do not believe it's the owner, because someone's looks like in the reflection is holding the camera or the phone or however they're making the video. That is a key thing, because I've talked about, even in 67, you do not want to leave these cars idling. The reason for that is they can kind of jump, if you will, into reverse, and doing so can make the car basically take off in reverse. So you don't want that to happen. The pros of the listing: appears to be a very nice car. It has silver mist metallic. It's a color you don't often see, and certainly for someone that doesn't want maybe a black Lincoln, maybe doesn't want, one of the aqua type colors, blue colors, if you will, it's something a little bit different. The undercarriage has some detail work. I mean, if you look at the oil pan, it's totally blue. So whether somebody went in there and painted that recently or whatnot, certainly there's been a little bit of care put into it. The trunk looks amazing. It has a newer paint job where we can tell from the couple of photos provided that the doors were taken off. It is an AC car, so we would add 10% based upon the Haggerty listing. Although the AC is not working, certainly I think we would all agree that it's better to have the system there, because if you want to put the money into it, you can either upgrade it or have a local shop work on it. The top is very nice. It was replaced at some point. It's like a dark blue color. It's got the bucket seats, also known as Contour individual adjustable seats. The factory floor mats and the bright work looks amazing. Things to consider, really, there's the only thing I can say on this one is the AC is not working, and that's being very, very nitpicky. So I'm very curious what you think. Is this a nice car? Certainly, I'm a big fan of 66, 67. Love the interior. I think someone's going to get a really, really nice car, and I'm anxious to see within the next 8 hours, 7 hours, what this one's going to end at. So stay on the rise, everyone. Thank you for the support. Check out Lincoln Addict Podcast, however you find podcasts, including all of the, a lot of the episodes are available right here on my YouTube channel. I am ODB. Take care, everyone. Peace.